Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we will explore what clickers are. One of the most terrifying, complex, and deadly creatures in the Last of Us universe are the clickers. These creatures represent the distressing culmination of the Cordyceps infection. These beings, who were once human, have been transformed by the fungus into creatures whose echo of their former selves is reduced to a disturbing and devastating sound. That's why, in this video, I will explain in detail the story and origins of the clickers. To do this, I will give you a summary of their history in the different games and series. Then I will talk about their physical appearance, their personality, their incredible abilities, and how to defeat and survive these creatures. The story of the clickers is deeply linked to the spread of the Cordyceps brain infection, a mutation of the Cordyceps fungus that, in real life, affects insects, especially ants, and forces them into suicidal behavior to spread their spores. In the Last of Us universe, this fungus has undergone a dangerous mutation that allows it to infect humans, becoming one of the most lethal threats to ever exist. The initial outbreak occurs in September 2013, when the fungus begins to spread through contaminated food products, such as flour and other wheat-based goods. Within days, the infection spreads globally, collapsing civilization and reducing humanity to small groups of survivors who try to avoid contact with the infected. As the Cordyceps advances within the host's body, the fungus takes control of the brain and forces the host to act with extreme aggression, with the sole purpose of biting and transmitting the infection to others. Over time, the fungus continues to develop inside the infected's body, causing physical and behavioral changes that give rise to different stages of the infection. The clickers represent one of the most advanced forms of this mutation, but before reaching this stage, an infected person goes through several transformation phases, each with unique characteristics. In the first 48 hours after infection, the victims enter the runner stage, characterized by extremely aggressive behavior. In this phase, although the fungus has already taken control of the nervous system, the appearance of the infected is still mostly human, with some visible signs of infection, such as pale skin, bloodshot eyes, and muscle spasms. Runners are the most common infected and represent a considerable threat due to their speed and erratic behavior. They still retain some primitive thinking ability and can emit cries of anguish, as if a part of their mind is still aware of the horror of their condition. However, their aggression and ferocity make them extremely dangerous enemies for any survivor. After several weeks or months, the runners begin to transform into stalkers, a transitional phase between the early stage and the clickers. In this phase, the fungus has started to expand outside the host's body, forming plates and protrusions on the skin, especially on the face and extremities. Stalkers still retain some human mobility, but their behavior becomes much more stealthy and predatory. Unlike the runners, who attack directly and randomly, stalkers tend to lurk in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Their movement style and ability to hide make them especially dangerous, as they can surprise their victims without warning. Some stalkers get trapped in walls and surfaces due to the excessive fungal growth on their bodies. Over time, their bodies fuse with the environment and eventually become sources of highly contagious spores. After approximately 1 to 2 years of infection, the stalkers undergo an even more drastic transformation, turning into clickers, one of the most iconic and terrifying forms of infected in The Last of Us. At this stage, the fungus has grown uncontrollably inside the host's body, completely enveloping their head and fracturing the skull. This causes the complete loss of their eyes, leaving the infected completely blind. However, this disability is compensated by a new ability, echolocation. Clickers emit distinctive clicks with their throat, similar to those used by bats and dolphins to navigate in the dark. These sounds bounce off nearby objects and walls, allowing them to perceive their surroundings with great precision. Thanks to this ability, they can detect any nearby movement or sound, making them lethal hunters even in total darkness. The body of a clicker is noticeably more resistant than the previous stages, as the fungus has strengthened its muscles and hardened its skin, making them much harder to eliminate. Their movements are erratic and brutal, with extremely violent attacks. Unlike runners, who can be knocked down easily, clickers require significant effort to defeat, as they can withstand multiple shots before falling. In some cases, clickers can continue to develop if they survive long enough. As the fungus continues to grow, they can evolve into even more lethal forms, such as bloaters and shamblers, which have bodies completely covered in hardened fungal plates and can release poisonous spores. In The Last of Us Part 2, an even more terrifying variant is introduced, known as the Rat King, a creature composed of multiple infected fused into a single massive body. This suggests that the infection can continue mutating over time in unpredictable and terrifying ways. Now that we've thoroughly covered their history, I want to talk to you about the physical appearance of the clickers, what we know about their personality and behavior, and I will explain their incredible abilities and how to survive and defeat these creatures. Clickers are one of the most terrifying forms of the infected in The Last of Us, with a grotesque appearance that reflects the ravages of the Cordyceps brain infection. Their appearance combines what was once a human being with the uncontrollable growth of the fungus, turning them into monsters easily recognizable in the post-apocalyptic world of the game. Their most distinctive feature is the extreme deformation of the head. Over time, the Cordyceps fungus grows uncontrollably, fracturing the skull and causing it to open into multiple sections. As a result, the top of the head and face are covered by hardened fungal plates that form a kind of crown or flower of spores. This structure has completely replaced their eyes, leaving them blind. Fragments of the skull are still visible, and remnants of skin between the fungal grooves create a chilling contrast between the organic matter and the fungal infection. The colors of the head range from dark brown, yellow, and orange, reflecting the hard texture of an advanced fungal state. Occasionally, spores can be seen emerging from the cracks, reinforcing their infectious nature. The mouth is often cracked, with exposed gums and worn but still sharp teeth. They usually keep their mouth open, revealing a bloody oral cavity. The rest of the body also shows signs of advanced infection. As the fungus takes over the body, the limbs become thin and marked by decomposition. Fungal plates and growths protrude from the skin, especially on the arms and torso. The infected person's original clothing remains attached to their body, but is completely torn, dirty, and covered in mold. The skin has lost its original color, adopting grayish, purple, or greenish tones, depending on the degree of decomposition. In many areas, the skin is so deteriorated that muscles and tendons are exposed. Some parts of the body appear fused with the growth of the fungus, as if the host and parasite have become a single grotesque entity. The most affected areas have a rough, hardened texture, similar to tree bark, while others are covered in spores. Although all clickers share similar characteristics, differences can still be noticed based on their original gender. Males tend to be more robust and muscular, while females are usually thinner, though equally terrifying. The original clothing, though deteriorated, sometimes allows identification of their occupation before the infection, such as civilians, soldiers, or doctors. Clickers represent one of the most terrifying threats in The Last of Us, due to their aggressive and unpredictable behavior. Despite having lost their sight, they have developed an echolocation system based on the characteristic clicks they emit, which allows them to detect their prey through sound. This tracking method makes them extremely dangerous, as they react immediately to any unexpected noise. They are relentless hunters who, once they detect a potential victim, pursue it with terrifying ferocity. Although they usually move erratically and clumsily, when they identify their prey, they can move with surprising speed. Their extreme aggression makes them attack without hesitation, pouncing on their targets with brutal force. Once they enter attack mode, they seem to fall into a kind of frenzy, ignoring any other stimuli and focusing all their attention on their victim until they finish it off. Their growls and heavy breathing betray their presence, creating constant tension in any encounter with them. They can often be heard emitting guttural sounds, even when not in motion, suggesting that their nervous system and motor control have been completely overtaken by the infection. Unlike other infected, clickers seem to have lost almost all of their humanity, functioning solely under the primitive instincts of the fungus that controls them. They show no signs of pain or fear, making them relentless predators. Their endurance is notably superior to that of other infected, making them even harder to eliminate. They can withstand severe injuries and continue moving as if they do not feel them, demonstrating that the fungus has taken full control of their body. In addition, clickers show a tendency to stay in dark and damp areas, ideal places for the fungus to spread. They can be found in groups or alone, but in any case, they represent a lethal threat. In some cases, when they have not detected any prey, they seem to remain still, as if in a state of latency until some sound activates them again. This reinforces the idea that their behavior is entirely regulated by the growth of the fungus and its biological needs. Their behavior positions them as one of the most advanced forms of the infection, with a mindset purely focused on hunting and spreading the fungus. As the infection progresses, their aggression and lethality increase, making them a threat that even the most experienced survivors fear facing. Clickers have very special abilities that make them extremely dangerous and terrifying. Their main ability, echolocation, is an adaptation of the Cordyceps fungus that allows them to see through sound. They emit a characteristic sound, a sharp click, which bounces off nearby objects, helping them perceive their environment, much like bats do. This system allows them to locate their prey even in total darkness, making them a lethal threat in environments without light. Despite their total blindness, their keen sense of hearing is so precise that they can detect the slightest movement, such as the sound of a step or an object falling, allowing them to track survivors with astonishing accuracy. In terms of strength, clickers are incredibly strong and resilient. Their musculature and physical capabilities have been enhanced by the infection, allowing them to deliver devastating attacks, easily smashing through doors, walls, and objects around them. Although they are not as fast as other infected creatures like runners, their ability to attack quickly when they detect a threat is remarkable. Clickers can also move with agility in close combat, and if a survivor gets too close, they can strike with claws, teeth, and their deformed limbs in a lethal manner. The physical endurance of clickers goes beyond their strength, as they have an amazing ability to survive for years, despite the extreme conditions of the post-apocalyptic world. The Cordyceps fungus that has infected them gives them incredible durability, allowing them to withstand the passage of time far longer than other infected. This longevity makes them a constant and menacing presence. Surviving clickers in The Last of Us requires a meticulous strategy, exploiting their one weakness: blindness. The most important thing is to stay silent. Clickers rely completely on sound to detect their prey, so avoiding unnecessary noise is key to not attracting their attention. Walking quietly and crouching whenever possible will reduce the risk of being detected. Avoiding running or jumping is crucial, as the sound of your footsteps or falls could be the signal clickers need to track you. Stealth is the best tactic for moving among clickers without being detected. If you need to pass near one, It's best to move slowly and use the structures or objects in the environment as cover. Clickers are blind but have an extremely developed sense of hearing, which allows them to locate you quickly if you make noise. You can also use stealth weapons, such as knives or arrows, to eliminate them without making noise. Clickers fall easily when attacked in the head, so using weapons like a bow or knives will be the most effective if you need to take them out silently. It's also important to maintain a safe distance from them. Although they are not as fast as other infected creatures like runners, their ability to move quickly in close combat is dangerous, and their attacks are lethal. If you decide to face them, long-range weapons like rifles or shotguns are the best options to keep your distance. A headshot can neutralize them efficiently. You can also take advantage of the environment to make noise and distract them. Using bottles or bricks is useful to draw them to another location, allowing you to move without being detected or attack the clickers by surprise. If one gets close to you, try to stab it in the head, as this is its weak point, which will allow you to finish it off quickly. If there are many clickers in the area, it's advisable to avoid direct combat. Look for alternative routes or bypass the areas infested with them. If you have no other option but to face them, make sure you have a plan to escape if things go wrong. Don't stay too long in an area with many clickers or in a small space where it's hard to move, as it's easy to get trapped. Always use the environment as cover. Walls, furniture, and other objects can block the sound and give you time to plan your next move without being detected. Do not run near them, as the sound of your footsteps will attract their attention. Don't risk fighting them hand-to-hand unless absolutely necessary, as their attacks are fast and lethal. In a hand-to-hand confrontation, a single attack can be fatal. If you have to shoot, do so carefully, as the noise will attract more clickers. Don't shoot recklessly. Always aim for the head and only do so when necessary. Ignoring their presence is never a safe option, as there is always the possibility they could approach you without you realizing. So you must stay alert at all times. Avoid entering closed areas or places without escape routes, such as small rooms or narrow hallways. Clickers are very dangerous in confined spaces because they are not only strong and fast, but also their presence can be hard to avoid if you get trapped. If you manage to avoid combat, don't stay too long in the area, as clickers can detect other sounds you might make while looking for resources or advancing. The best thing is to complete what you need quickly, and then move to a safer area. And this would be everything we know so far about the creatures known as clickers. These creatures truly fascinated me because of the way they track their prey using sound, which is similar to the lickers in Resident Evil. But let me know your opinion in the comments. Did you already know about clickers? Do you think creatures like these could actually exist? And finally, if you had to face these creatures, what would you do? Share your answers to these questions and your general opinion on the clickers in The Last of Us. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, share it to support the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos.